Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
So, welcome to this episode of Touched and Empowered. I am Katie here with Ace, and Ace picked our topic today. So, let's hear it. What's our topic?
So, our topic today is screaming. We're going to talk about your battle cry, your scream, just like the way that you let out noise when something unexpected happens, or you need to let out noise for whatever reason.
Yeah, because screaming in terror is completely different than a battle cry scream, because that is something that's done intentionally to terrify your enemy.
Right. And honestly, the purpose of screaming, to be very fair, we don't do it enough, in my opinion. And I think we kind of need to, because imagine how much stress you'll relieve when you do it.
I think that's why a lot of people scream at sports games.
It's not the sports.
It's not the sports. It gives them an excuse to scream.
Go Dodgers! Like that was...
I don't know if it is or not, but I know that mid-October, I went down to Virginia to visit my sister, and one of my nephews plays in the band, and it was homecoming. So I got to go to a homecoming game, and I haven't been to one since I was in high school. So even though my sister and I are having a conversation, when everyone around us started like screaming to like run faster, catch the ball, get the guy with the ball, whatever they were screaming at, my sister and I would stop our conversation, scream with the rest of the crowd, and then once everyone calmed down, we went right back to our conversation. And it's really funny that we did that, but I do remember being like all stressed because this was at the beginning of like 2 weeks of travel for me. And when we left the foot game, I was like happy. I was smiling. I was relaxed. I was like, wow, that actually like let out a whole bunch of tension without me even realizing it.
Right?
I was very surprised.
Yeah, I always find it. All right, let's talk about the places that you do scream or yell.
There are times where it is perfectly acceptable to scream. Roller coasters.
Yes.
Sports games.
Rides.
Any rides.
Any rides.
We've mentioned sports games. Haunted houses.
Oh yeah. Those are great. Those are fantastic to scream. When you're scaring your partner.
Yeah. When you're trying to scare somebody else.
Notice how I specifically went to partner?
Yes. Well, I'm just going to say anybody else, because it might not be your partner. It might be a sibling. It might be a friend, that you're trying to scare. I will mention caution. If you are in your car by yourself screaming at the top of your lungs, that will draw people's. I have done it too, and it has drawn people's attention to where people are like knocking on the window. Are you okay in there? Yes, I'm just very upset right now, and this is the only place I can let all of this emotion out, because I can't scream in my house. I live in a townhouse. I've got neighbors on that wall, and I've got neighbors on this wall.
All right, so tiny vignette of screaming in the car. So I remember, this is gonna sound really weird, and I'm glad that I learned from this in the future. I remember this one guy. I kept telling him I didn't want to date him. I kept saying no.
Right.
I don't want to date you. No, I don't want to date you. Don't fall in love with me. I don't want to date you.
Oh, one of those.
One of those. Then he strong-armed me into dating him. And I submitted and said yes. And I remember the car ride home, I screamed at the top of my lungs. I just like screamed really loud. It's like,
oh yeah, when you're sitting at a traffic light, you do it in the car next to you, people just like look over and go, what was that demonic sound?
it like reverberated through the minivan. Yes.
Yeah, I can think of like a handful of times where I like intentionally let out a scream to release all the emotion that I had bottled up in me. And I just mentioned caution when people do this, be mindful of your surroundings because I was in the woods by my townhouse growing up with, maybe I'd say 20 feet from the footpath on the other side of a tree so no one could see me. And I allowed a ferocious scream because I was very angry. I was very frustrated. I was very hurt. And it was the only way I could find a way to express all of this pent up emotion. Because showing this kind of emotion was not really a good idea around certain people in my life. And I had a concerned citizen with their dog come charging around the side of the tree to make sure I wasn't getting murdered. I mean, thankfully, it was a neighbor that I knew. Well, I knew the dog because I walked their dog. I didn't know the neighbor all that well, actually. But I'm like, no, I'm fine. I've just had a really crappy day and I needed to yell. So I came into the woods to yell. They're like, yeah, next time check to make sure no one's on the path when you yell. Just say it.
Just a thing, it might be helpful.
Might be helpful.
But like sometimes when you need to scream, you don't care where you are.
That's true. You really don't. I mean, because I can, but I guess for me, because of the whole being mindful of my surroundings, because when I was younger, it wasn't safe to express any of this around my stepfather. That if I, like now, even now, if I'm like, I'm home by myself, nobody else is here. If I decide to let out a huge scream, I've got a neighbor through that wall, I've got a neighbor through that wall, and I can hear them sneeze through the wall. So I could only imagine what would happen if they heard me let out a curdling scream and then having like cops show up on my door. wanting to make sure that I want to make sure you're okay.
That happened to me once. Yeah. I remember somebody came, the police came to the door and they were like, we heard some noise. Is everything okay? And I forgot what caused that. There was some loud noise. I remember part of it was my parrot. My parrot would scream all the time.
Oh, I didn't even think about pets that do it.
Oh, my parrot just, whenever we didn't give her attention, she would scream. At the top of her lungs, like, ah! like my dog. Come here, baby.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they can be terrifying. And the only reason that, well, one of the reasons that I say that is because I have a cousin who is like major martial arts UCF fighter black belt trained. And when she is in a match, I've never seen one of her matches live. She's asked family not to show up when she's at her matches. And I'm like, okay, fine. I saw a YouTube video that someone had posted about their friends getting their butt kicked by my cousin.
Oh.
And at the beginning of the match, my cousin let out that battle cry kind of scream that, trying to get your opponent to quake in their boots. And I'm like, I felt terrified. And I know this, I've known this person my entire life. She's like 2 months younger than I am. We're like the same age. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not coming across you in a dark alley, even though I love you. No.
well, it's funny. Martial arts, that's the other place that's the other acceptable.
And with martial, I mean, when I was a kid, I remember doing Taekwondo. And they did tell you that yell because that helps give you power. That helps gives you energy when you're throwing punches or whatever.
Which is very true. And it was actually really funny because I remember my Taekwondo days and I was very quiet.
Yeah.
Except there.
Well, it's like that was the one place we were allowed to be noisy,
Yeah. Especially when you're hitting something. There's also the other time that you could hit something and be allowed to do that.
That's true.
Oh,
That's true.
there's I just saw this video online about how in Thailand, I think it's Thailand. I really hope it's Thailand. We will double check and then we will put the thing at the bottom, the link, the video
Okay.
at the bottom. But essentially, they create these molds of your exes or like these like clay statues
Okay.
of your exes or anyone that like has frustrated you in the past. And then you're allowed to go there and punch the clay figurine.
Well, it's still in clay form, so it like demolds or whatever.
Like if you hit it, you punch it, and I've seen people punch their whatever. I don't know if it's their ex or whatnot. But they punch it and you just see like the clay just swipe up. And you're like, oh, that's cool. Like apparently it's very therapeutic. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have a room and you're screaming, punching at this thing.
Well, I can imagine because it's a way to focus the energy.
It's one of the best de-stressors I've ever seen in my life.
And if it's anything like these rage rooms.
Yeah, I've been to one. Yeah.
I haven't been to one. I've seen them.
They're great.
You know, people, they suit you up, they give you goggles, they give you gloves to make sure you're protected from everything. But you could go in and just like throw the biggest temper tantrum in the world.
Sledgehammer, everything.
And just let it all out. And I've been told that that's very therapeutic. And part of me is like, yeah, I'm a little terrified of what kind of damage would come. I mean, I know the stuff that's there to be damaged is there to be damaged. It's not like I'm trashing someone's property, but it's interesting to watch. I don't know if I'd participate.
It was funny because we had the choice when we went to either rage out or you could rage paint. And I just
is that the one where you like take for lack of better terms, paint balloons or paint buckets or whatever, or just
and you just slam it on things and you just like go crazy and you can do it to each other. Yeah, it's great. That one is pretty good. Yeah, that made me really happy.
I'm pretty sure that's another place that you could probably scream and it'd be okay.
Yeah. When I went to go all right, so if you watch my Instagram, folks, we'll also put that in the notes. I went to this place called Slew Moo. Have you heard of that?
No, but I did see your post about that where it had like goofy slime stuff.
So it has slime. All right, let me go get my slime. So essentially, I'm coming, but I'm still on the audio, but I'm gonna get my slime, and my dog is following me now. But it's pretty phenomenal. So hilariously enough, I never thought this would be such a de-stressor. But we went in to go visit a friend, and then our friend was like, "Oh, cool, come check it out." And we did. By the way, it's $80 to go into this place. A person.
Okay, so I'm assuming is it time limited then?
I don't know if it's time limited. But I know that like when you get your ticket, it's $80 per person, regardless if you're child or adult.
Okay.
Right. And then essentially they give you slime to play with and touch and whatnot. Very, very awesome. There's a lot of science behind it. My dog is
trying to eat your dinner.
She's trying to eat my phone. Here, baby.
She was facing the other way. Now she's facing the okay.
Yeah, okay, cool. She's got it. But essentially you're playing with slime and you're just like touching it. You can make things out of it. You can make art with it. You throw it on the wall, and there's like different stations of what you can do with the slime, right? I wanted to scream at every station, and I almost did. I think I almost did. So I was like playing with the slime, and then you know what's funny? So the fire alarm goes off. That's why you hear buzzing in the background of my stories. And I didn't know that was as soon as we got there, the alarm goes off. Not sure why. All the kids are gone, just me and my friend and like the staff. And we're yelling at everything. So there's also a thing where you can actually slingshot slime.
I did see the one where you like slingshot slime at someone and it stuck to like a piece of glass or something in the video.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my! I was like, I shouldn't have one of these. I have really good aim. But it was so much fun. Like I literally remember pulling it all the way back and then going, and then and there it was. Slime. Puppy. And then there was also you get slimed like Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I did see something that looked like you were underneath one of those overhead buckets that just kind of like dumped stuff onto you. You were like in ponchos and stuff like that to protect your clothes or whatever. But
and they just dump the slime on you. They just pour that stuff all over you, and it's all gooey and gooey and it's gross. And then the next station, which I'm actually recognizing now, I think I screamed at every station. I yelled to some extent. They have like Tibetan bowls that are in the wall, and then there's buttons that you can hit or hit.
Right.
Like hit like
that you could tap or you can like really punch them.
Yeah, folks, by the way, you should watch the YouTube video if you're listening, because this is like just me like hitting the wall. So I'm like hitting the buttons really, really, really fast everywhere. And I'm screaming and I'm like, it's like so much stress. It was like my cortisol levels kept dropping per station. Then you go to the next station and you get to make slime.
Which is always fun. I think I helped Austin make slime one time.
It's really fun. And you get to choose your texture.
Messy.
Well, they're different textures. So this is the one I chose. It's called Cloud.
Okay.
All right.
Pale blue. Cloud makes sense.
Well, I chose blue because I like the color blue. And I like the color blue that they had. So I was like, ooh, and look how like the slime is almost like a cloud.
Oh, okay. The way how the visual effect of it, when you stretch it out, it looks kind of like clouds.
It's like very cumulus, yeah, which I thought was really cool. And then they put charms in it, and then you get to put a scent. So the scent that I put in my slime was pumpkin pie.
Oh, of course, it's that time of year.
Yeah, that time of year, and also pumpkin cake, pumpkin pie is like my favorite scent for candles, for anything. I just love the way it smells. I find it kind of addicting, and like I'll sit there. I'll sit. It's like a Sharpie to me. Like I'll sit there and smell it all day long. It smells so good to me. And then afterwards, they even like they let you dance in slime, which is great. Like you stick your feet in like a pool of slime and you just run around in it. Screaming, of course. Without it, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, it would be the same without the screaming.
You just gotta scream all the time. And then there's even like you get a blindfold. This is another station. So they talk about the psychology of like when you blindfold somebody and then you let them touch things. There's some. Can you actually Google that? What's the psychology behind blindfolding?
Well, it's something. I don't know what the psychology is, but I do know that there's something that if one sense is deprived, your other senses seem to like pick up the pace and heighten to try and fill in that gap. So I've seen it where like people who have been put on a blindfold, they can pick up more minute sounds.
Right.
Things taste different.
Yes. Yeah, so with this, we actually experimented with the sense of touch.
Okay.
So they put the blindfold on, and my friend, aggressively stuck my hand in holes. I should have watched how I said that. But anyways, so they stuck my hand in like these little hole things that are like in a cubby, essentially. And they have different textures. They have like grass in one. They have like like sparkle shoes in another. And you're like touching.
Trying to figure out what it is.
Essentially, yeah. And like you never know what it is. And I'm like, my friend kept guessing, and I already saw it, so I wasn't gonna like guess anymore. But it was just so funny. He's like, what does that one feel like? I'm like, get my hand out of it. Like, I'm just
well, it's like I remember Austin's birthday is Halloween. So when he was in kindergarten or whatever, and we threw a birthday party for him. One of the things we did is we had the kids get blindfolded, and then they got to put their hands in bowls of stuff, and they weren't allowed to see what it was because the witch who was demonstrating this said nobody could see what her spell components were. But one of them was like witch's hair, and it was like cold pasta noodles, like cold spaghetti noodles covered in olive oil. She had Eye of Newt, which I think was frozen grapes.
Oh, cool.
And, so each of these different things, she'd say it was something like Halloween or witchy or whatever, when in actuality, it was just something pulled out of the pantry and put into the bowl for the kids to experiment with.
Oh, that's cool.
Hello, doggy. Are you going to be talking to me now? Midnight is just like taking over the screen.
Yeah. So if you guys hear the dog in the background, my emotional support pet, by the way, those are fantastic to get. If you ever need one, grab one, or, have them manifest outside of a park and somehow deliver to you, like this one for free. The exact breed that you've always wanted. Yeah. So speaking of screaming, that is actually how the topic of screaming came to be during this phone call, because Puppy over here shoved a shoe in my face and I screamed on the phone while a friend was on the phone. And I was telling Katie before this call, my friend was so shocked that they were like, "What the hell was that?" And apparently,
because you're not using your regular, what I would call your regular vocal cords. Because when you scream, it's really, if you scream with intent, it sounds completely different than when you scream from pure emotion.
Yeah, this was pure like shock, surprise, and like another time, danger. Yes, please scream.
Right.
So my dog, when she came up to me and I screamed, my friend was like, okay. Also, I found out that the way I scream is not what he ever expected to, which is even funnier, to be honest.
Well, sometimes the loudest, this is going to sound funny, but the loudest noises come from the smallest people.
This is very true. We come with compensation somewhere.
And one of the reasons that I say that is one of my friends from high school who was like 4'8". Okay. We were doing the musical, I want to say it was Bye Bye Birdie or something. She was one of the main characters. The sound tech actually had to take away her microphone because she could project her voice with so much power. She actually like blew out a mic.
Ooh,
so all 3 performances that we did, she did it without a microphone because she was just that. I mean, she was a singer. She knew how to project her voice when she was speaking.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
So that's why I joke about, tiny packages. But then again, I know how loud Austin was when he was a baby. Sorry, Austin, but you were loud.
Oh my God, I heard that. Okay, well, cool.
Yeah, he was loud.
That's fair. So all right. So when I screamed, and I was telling Katie about this, like sometimes when you scream, like I've heard the high-pitched screams.
Right, the high-pitched screech, Halloween-y, terrified terror movie kind of screams.
I can only do that when I'm acting. I can never do that like when it's like actually my voice. when it's actually my voice, apparently it sounds like a man scream of sorts. Like
it's deeper.
It's deeper, and that was also why my friend was so like surprised. He was like, "What was that? Like you sounded like a man in a different lifetime." And I went, and I was like, "Well, I'm not the only one who has this scream." And he was like, "Who else has this?" And I was like, "I grew up with all of my female cousins screaming like this. We all went, ah! Like that's how we would scream."
Right.
And he was just like, "You all did that?" I was like, "I have 3 sisters. They all yell like ah!" And then my female cousins did it too. So when I was a child, that's all I saw growing up from women. So it's scream like that.
And I think that part of that, you grew up around it, so that's just how you realized that, oh, this is how it's done. Because everything that we do, we pick up in some way, shape, or form when we're little. And it's like, my one sister, when she gets really, really, really excited, her voice goes up in pitch to like where she's talking in soprano.
Ooh la la.
Versus my voice usually drops and
Ooh.
gets deeper when I'm like really excited about like a holiday coming up or some kind of surprise or something else like that.
Mm.
So it's really interesting that even though we grew up in the same household, I always joked it was because I was a tomboy and she was a girly girl. But it's just how we projected at that particular moment in time.
Yeah, that's real. Like when I think about at that point in time.
And there's so
All
many
right.
points of time we can reference,
Right. Let's talk about the different vocal ranges that happen during which times too,
Right.
especially in terms of screaming, expression. Like when I'm sincere, my voice drops like 2 octaves. Like, well, don't get me wrong. I'm always when I'm trying to sincerely get a message to somebody as compassionately and as gently as possible, so that they
Right.
receive the message. My voice does drop like 2 octaves down. And then the volume actually is a lot softer. It's not as loud, which is really interesting. If I'm talking one on one to somebody and I'm being serious about something.
And I think for me, it changes as to whom I am talking to. Because if the person I am talking to resonates with somebody who talks fast and has a higher pitched voice, then that's where I go. If it's somebody who resonates with a calm, quiet, motherly voice, then that's where I go.
That's cool. Yeah.
And that's just how my vocal/brain works.
See, I will code switch very similarly.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know what code switch means,
Look it up.
look it up. Well, we can look it up or we can look it up. Either way, look it up. Code switching, it means like you're matching or chameleoning between your environments. Right. But when you're code switching, it's actually a defense mechanism. It's not necessarily a way to like manipulate or anything. It's more of like, my body feels a little in danger. It doesn't feel as safe. So you just match what your environment is showing you so that you can chameleon in, kind of like
you can blend in versus stand out.
Exactly, so that you're not prone to being in danger from what your mind is thinking, right? So when I'm talking to people that I haven't met before, or people that I don't know that well, or I feel like could be mean or whatever, for whatever reason, like if I could sense that somebody isn't going to be, that if I haven't built trust with somebody, right?
Right.
Normally I'll code switch. Just naturally what I do.
And it makes sense because it's like reading a room.
Yeah.
When you walk into the room, we all do it. We automatically check to see what the emotion level is, what the vibration level is. Where are the people who have similar energy that we have?
If it's appropriate to scream or not.
If it's appropriate to scream or not.
Yes.
And then just go from there. Because our primitive mind, I guess our lizard brain, I've heard it called, is always looking to make sure that we are in a safe space.
Exactly. And the moment that I feel safe, I won't code switch, which is really fascinating. And regardless of who's in front of me, I'll speak in my true tone. Like this is Katie and I have built trust over years. So obviously I'm going to be very like, this is my true voice. This is how I project. This is how I speak. This is my personality. All of it is right here.
I will say, from being on the other side, the only time that I think I would consider hearing you switch was when you and I were on a call. We were not recording that day, but I was having a really, really, really bad day. And it was like anything that anyone said to me just burst me into tears almost. It was a really bad day. But you came in with your normal ace energy. And then you switched to more of a soothing sister tone of
Yes.
voice and energy.
The
And that
sincere,
kind
gentle
of,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
because and that's what probably more what I needed to hear versus how you normally talk to me. So I do see where, even if somebody you've known for decades, sometimes we do it intentionally and sometimes it's just automatic.
To be fair, that switch that you're talking about, remember how I was like the tone, like sometimes I'll go into this deeper tone and then like
Mm-hmm.
the compassion and the gentle comes out because I want the person to actually hear me through what they're going through. That's still truly my voice. It's just like I'm seeing something where yes, the soothing sister needs to be there, and that
Right.
part of me comes out.
It's
The
also what I
other,
call the mom voice
it is quite a mom voice, yes.
because that's the voice I use with Austin.
It's a good mom voice. Now interesting when I sing, I'm actually more comfortable in the higher register.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, like Mariah
I can
Carey.
see it. I can see that for you,
Yeah.
but my voice is naturally deeper than everyone else in my family. So I am definitely was it contralto?
That's
I
a
can actually
cool
sing. I
sound.
can actually sing tenor notes.
That's incredible. I when it comes to singing, anything below an A, I'm like, how the heck do I do this? And it's funny, I talk in it, right? Like I
Right.
actually talk below an A, but I like don't know how to sing it. I do know how to sing like Mariah Carey notes, like the whistle register, like the shall we test it? Do we the
If you want to risk it with the Zoom microphones, I mean, I don't know if it'll pick it up or not. We could try it.
I'll try one. What's a good song that goes high?
Oh God, you're asking me to think of a Mariah Carey song?
Just musical. Phantom of the Opera. We'll go with Phantom of the Opera,
Yeah,
right?
Phantom of the Opera. There we go.
The
Oh yeah, the mic's not even picking that up.
really?
Yeah, the mic's not picking that up at all.
Oh my gosh, it's funny. How do I uh, what's another song with the high notes? What's a song with high notes that like Rent, that song. Um Seasons of Love.
Yeah, Seasons of Love does have some high notes in it.
Yeah, it's like what does she sing? Measure your life in love. She says it in a she does a little bit of a high note towards
Yeah,
Joanna. Is
Joanna.
it
She has a riff where she does higher
measure
notes.
your life in
Yes, the Zoom mics are cutting out for those higher notes.
love? Well, we tried.
We
Well,
tried.
which is funny because folks, that means that means I went higher than Zoom actually recognizes as human.
Well,
Yeah.
and thus I changed the settings for it to be, musically inclined versus just regular talking.
Well, yeah. But it's also funny because like the fact that I can't hear it because it's so high and I'm
Well,
comfortable there.
that might be why sometimes when you're laughing and talking at the same time, that
Oh,
the
it
mic
cuts
doesn't
out.
pick it up is because you go into that higher register. I
That
never thought about that until just now.
ah that makes sense when I'm on phone calls.
Who knew we were going to be problem solving while we were recording this episode?
We're talking about screaming, singing, laughing, all of the ways to express through your voice. Yes. Speaking of screaming, I guess like also when I was a kid, hitting those higher registers was basically screaming, just controlled.
And I think that might have been, now I could just be completely wrong right now, but both of my younger sisters pitch higher than I do.
Mm.
And it could be because I remember when my mom did daycare up until I was a teenager,
Mm.
that there were certain kids that started to pitch their voice higher when they wanted to be heard over everybody else.
Funny enough, that's actually how you're not heard. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that, but that's what's coming to mind right now for this.
Yeah.
And I never really tried that.
Mhm.
Normally, when I was trying to get the attention of a room, instead of doing a high pitch hey to get people's attention, I would drop my voice and let out a deeper, hey to get people's attention.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's so like, which is true. So there's a TED talk on 5 ways for people to make sure people hear you or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it, and the expert mentioned these names. I gotta remember them all. The expert mentioned essentially, don't speak in a higher voice when you're trying to actually get a message across because people won't listen for whatever reason. It's just harder for people to listen to a higher pitch. But if you drop your voice down to this level of speaking, it's easier for people to to absorb what you're saying, and they're going to take you more seriously as you do, which is interesting.
It makes sense from the standpoint as to being in the middle range for the majority of the people in the audience. Because there are people who are able to hear those higher registered music, Mariah Carey being one of them. She's a beautiful singer.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it depends on what mood I'm in as to if I can even tolerate hearing those high notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are some fantastic, really deep bass singers that are out there. And again, there are days that I like listening to it, and then there are days that I just am not in the mood to hear something that makes my whole body vibrate.
Oh yeah. If I yell in a higher pitch to my dog, she thinks it's playing.
Well, yeah, they have a completely different range of hearing too, so that makes sense.
So when I yelled at my dog,
She was like, playtime.
no, she was like, oh shit. Talk too
Oh,
much.
that's right, because your voice dropped.
My voice dropped, and she was like, and I was like, by the way, she's actually behaving right now. She's like, Mom, I'm so sorry. She's like sitting next to me, behaving, being
Yes,
cute.
she's being very cute.
It's my puppy. I love you.
So
on that note,
because it is coming to the end of the episode, unfortunately. So
find acceptable ways to scream, folks. It brings out a lot of good things in your life, apparently.
Yeah, hide it in a crowd, go to a football game.
New York City. Doesn't matter where you are in New York City. You are allowed to scream anywhere and everywhere, and no one cares. It's fine. You can be on this literally on the corner of 14th and 5th and just scream to the top of your lungs, and it's fine. No one's gonna remember you there. Just
That's true, but still, don't do it on your normal, like on the corner by your neighborhood or whatever. You don't want your neighbors coming up and knocking on your door every few days, wanting to check to make sure you're still okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember this one dude. I'm sorry, we're about to close the episode, but I have to say this one thing.
Okay.
All right. So I'm in a crowd of people in New York City, and we're about to cross the street. No one's moving for whatever reason. And this dude who looked like a banker, in my opinion, he just looked well educated, no insanity issues, to my knowledge. What?
Clean cut.
Clean cut. Like I said, no insanity issues. And what is insanity, right? So and I'm just like looking at him, and then I look down, and I just look back up, and I hear him yell to everybody, and everyone kind of nudged and went, oh, and then we all moved together.
Makes me think of Andre the Giant and Princess Bride. Everybody move.
Without the everybody, just pure, just rage, frustration, and he knew no one cared, so he just did it, and everyone moved.
There we go. The power of our voice. So on that note, everyone have a great rest of the week. Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.